Hi people, it's Archivist here. I recently did a review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel from the perspective of a Red Eyes Black Dragon player, and I was quite happy with the response to the video, so I've decided to double down and actually focus on the Red Eyes deck I've been using recently. It's been getting a fair few wins online, despite the fact it is definitely not a meta deck, it is an underdog deck, something for someone who's nostalgic for the OG anime, and even then, is of the original trio Dark Magician, Blue Eyes and Red Eyes, going for which was originally thought of as the weakest of those three monsters, the Red Eyes Black Dragon. But I've managed to get some wins online. I thought I'd share my deck, explain my rationale, and if you feel like trying this out for yourself, you might see some success. So I will jump over to the deck profile, and after that I'll move on to showing you some online wins that I've managed to get in just today from using this particular deck. Before we get into the online battles, let's begin with the deck profile itself. So, Red Eyes Black Dragon times 3. The Black Stone of Legend times 3. Black Metal Dragon times 3. Red Eyes Baby Dragon times 3. Red Eyes Wyvern times 2. Red Eyes Retro Dragon times 3. Gearfried the Red Eyes Iron Knight times 2. Keeper of Dragon Magic times 3. Red Eyes Archfiend of Lightning times 2. Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact times 1. Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon times 1. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon times 2. Red Eyes Fusion times 3. Red Eyes Insight times 3. Red Eyes Spirit times 1. Red Eyes Fang with Chain times 2. Return of the Red Eyes times 3. Red Eyes Slash Dragon times 1. Meteor Black Comet Dragon times 2. Archfiend Black Skull Dragon times 1. Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon times 1. Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon times 3. Dark Arm the Dragon of Annihilation times 1. Link Karibo times 1. Darkness Metal the Dragon of Dark Steel times 1. So now you know the context of the deck, I wanted to show you 4 of the matches I've played today with this deck. And the funny thing is, going with a Red Eyes deck, you know you are automatically at a bit of a disadvantage. So I suppose in some ways it almost takes the pressure off, because you know that if you win, it's just a boost. But the thing is, this is not a bad deck to play. Like, it's very fun. There's a lot of synergy, lots of combos you can go into. No ultra long, 3-minute long combos, I would say, but just long enough to where there's satisfaction in understanding how all the cards combine. And I think at the very heart of this deck would have to be Red Eyes Fusion, giving you the ability to fuse summon cards from your field, from your hand, and also, crucially, from your deck. So if you get a Red Eyes Fusion in your hand, you pretty much know that you can get out one of the 3 powerful fusion monsters in this archetype. And let's just think about those quickly. So there's Red Eyes Slash Dragon, which is a very powerful card in that it can attach warriors from your graveyard to it, giving it a modest 200 attack boost. But if your opponent decides to target the Red Eyes Slash Dragon with an effect, you can then discard that attached monster and negate the effect of what's targeting it, meaning that it's a very effective way of protecting your field against enemy effects from their cards. There's also Meteor Black Comet Dragon, an extremely powerful monster with 3,500 attack, and when you summon it, you can send 1 Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do so, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the original attack of that monster. So if you send a Red Eyes Black Dragon from your deck to the graveyard, for example, that's 1,200 points against their life points. And then finally, for the fusion monsters, there's Archfiend Black Skull Dragon with a decent attack score of 3,200. And what I really love about this card is that when it goes to attack during the damage step, your opponent can't activate any card effects. So you can be very safe in knowing that when this card goes to attack, it will attack. Also, as the cherry on top, In the event that it did damage, you can target one Red Eyes in your graveyard, send it back to your deck, and inflict half the attack points as damage, which is almost like an inverse of how Meteor Black Comet Dragon works when it's summoned. And while we're talking about the extra deck, there's also Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. This is an Xyz monster. It requires 2 level 7s, which is great if you've got 2 Red Eyes on the field. And what I really love about this particular card is that while it's got Xyz materials attached, every time your opponent activates a card effect, they take 500 points of damage, which in this world of infinite combos is so satisfying that your opponent can be firing off all these combos, all the effects, but every time they do it, they're taking 500 points of damage. And if you can get all 3 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragons onto the field, that's 1,500 points of damage every time they do something. Now, personally, I've never gone above 2, but even getting 1 on can act as a little bit of a deterrent to your opponent, because they know that every time they do something, or as they say, every time they breathe, they have to take some damage. So yeah, Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon doesn't have the most impressive attack in the world. That's my one complaint about it. But other than that, it's a really awesome card, a really excellent Xyz. A card I have only just been able to play as of Master Duel because it's been banned or just not available. In the other games I played of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, but I am having a lot of fun playing it in this game. You can only have 2 of them in the deck, but it's very easy to summon. So if you have a dragon that you control, you can just banish it to summon this card, which is not too hard in a deck that's full of dragons. And it's got decent attack, 2,800, more than decent actually if you ask me. And not only that, but you can each turn, each of your main phases, you can special summon 1 dragon monster from your hand or graveyard, except for another Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, which is great for very quickly populating your field. So it's a powerful monster which can bring more powerful monsters to the field very easily and very quickly. Then there are some of the less powerful but still formidable cards in the deck, like Red Eyes Retro Dragon. I truly love this card. If it's in your hand and a Red Eyes card 7 stars or lower is destroyed, or even multiple of that, so let's just say, for example, you had 3 Red Eyes Black Dragon and your opponent activates Darkhold, destroys all 3 of them, you can then from your hand activate Red Eyes Retro Dragon, which will summon all 3 of those Red Eyes Black Dragons back and summon itself in defense position. So this card to me is like the ultimate insurance policy. And it's also got another nice effect where if it's on the field, you can activate its effect and gain an additional normal summon in your turn. And given that there are 2 Gemini monsters in this deck, that can be quite useful as well. It may not be very strong on its own, but Black Metal Dragon, I absolutely do love this card, and I would never go down from 3 of these in the deck. You can attach these to a Red Eyes monster and it gains 600 attack, which is incredibly useful given that the attack power in this Red Eyes deck isn't that formidable. And not only that, but if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can then search a Red Eyes card from your deck. So you can basically search anything you want if it's destroyed. And what I do sometimes like doing is attaching this to a baby dragon, because if the baby dragon is destroyed by a battle, you get to search a Red Eyes card via baby dragon and attach it and get 300 extra attack. But you can also search a Red Eyes card, something like Red Eyes Fusion, using the destruction of Black Metal Dragon, so it gives you a double combo that's really nice, and a monster which has okay attack, but you almost want it to be dealt with because you get 2 really strong effects off the back of it being destroyed. If we're talking about trap cards, there's Red Eyes Spirit, which is just a simple way of bringing back a Red Eyes card. I've only got 1 of these. It's kind of useful if you want to bring back one of the fusion monsters, for instance. There's Red Eyes Fang with Chain, which can be absolutely devastating. In fact, as I say this, I will go to my Blue Eyes matchup here, where I was fighting a Blue Eyes White Dragon player, and it really seemed like I was going to take a very quick loss, and I'm sure he thought that as well. He got out a Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. In fact, he got out 2. Got a Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, which is a very hard card to deal with because it can't be destroyed in battle. And when he went to attack my Red Eyes Baby Dragon, I activated it. And then I stole his Twin Burst Dragon, attached it to my baby dragon, giving it 3000 attack, and from that point on he knew he'd lost. Like, this trap card, sometimes it's not all that great, but sometimes it can turn the tide of the duel. I'm genuinely debating moving up to a 3 of rather than a 2 of. The only reason I put it as a 2 of was that going into Master Duel, I wasn't that familiar with it, but using it here, it saved me a couple of times. So Fang with Chain, yeah, it can really piss off your opponent. It has incredible potential if you use it at the right time. That's the thing about it. You've got to wait to use it just when you're at your most vulnerable, because it can seriously turn things around. Return of the Red Eyes is also great. As long as you have a Red Eyes on the field, you can then bring back normal monsters from your graveyard. And this is a great way, especially if you're going up against an opponent who's being quite relentless, you can just keep bringing back more defenses. And I find this is also useful if you want to bring out your Xyz monsters, because you can deliberately use Red Eyes Insight to send them to the graveyard, and then Return of the Red Eyes can bring them right back, and then you get a very quick way of summoning Xyz monster. So I did decide to go with 3. I find it to be a very effective card, and I do debate going down to a 2 of, just because you can search it out using Red Eyes Insight. And then I think in terms of what I want to discuss in this video, there's Red Eyes Archfiend of Lightning. It's a Gemini monster, which means that in order to gain access to its effect, you have to normal summon it a second time. But its normal summon effect can be absolutely devastating, where if monsters, face-up monsters on your opponent's side of the field have less defense than this monster's attack, they will be destroyed. And the great thing is that this card can attack even after it's done that. So in certain situations, you can clear the enemy field and then just go straight in for an attack. But outside of that, it's mostly just fusion fodder. And funnily enough, its effect doesn't come up too much. So I'm happy to include it in the deck, but I can't say it saves me as much as some of the other cards that I've talked about today. So that, guys, is my overview of my Red Renewal Red Eyes Black Dragon deck. If you've got any suggestions of your own Red Eyes deck, please post them in the comments. There's no one who's got the absolute optimized deck, I don't think. It's all a matter of combining our suggestions together. This one just happens to be working for me. As always, people, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.